Now, as Overwatch players, all of us, we tend to get ahead of ourselves quite frequently, to the point where perhaps a lot of the things we do in game, we don't realize until it's way too late. And then we look at the scoreboard at the end of the game and we end up getting defeated because of some pretty poor choices. So in today's video, we're going to go over 3 things to stop doing in Overwatch 2 to therefore help you improve your game and of course become a winner long term. If you enjoy the channel and want to see more of this educational content, then be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And let's get straight to the first point. So one thing that we all often do in most of our games is that we become too predictable in the way in which we interact with what's happening in the game. So of course, for example, you go into one game and perhaps one of the things you did in that game really paid off for your team. And so you think, well, this paid off for me once, it definitely will pay off the second time. And so you go into your second game, third game, fourth game thinking that your same strategy is going to work. And then before you know it, you find yourself in the loser's queue because you became too predictable, too linear in your approach. And as a result, you didn't get the results you wanted. And that can oftentimes lead to frustration. But you got to remember that Overwatch 2 is a very complex game and that you always have to constantly be switching things up. You can't just afford to play the same game every single time simply because your opponents are going to be different, the maps are going to be different, and so therefore you have to apply another strategy or more new strategies over time. You have to learn to adapt and adopt new strategies. And so this is one of the 3 things that I think all players should learn to stop and just realize. You know, it's oftentimes difficult to stop yourself in the middle of a battle because so much is happening. You know, a lot of pressure is on you and the team to secure a victory. But it's really good sometimes to slow down, maybe after you've gotten a knock or maybe you got eliminated, maybe come out of spawn and just think, okay, what happened here? What can I do better to adapt to the situation? Should I swap characters? Or maybe it wasn't the character. Maybe I just need to work my positioning. Once again, stop being predictable, stop going to the same spot to snipe, for example, or stop going to the same flanking area. Just really try to be more creative, because the more unpredictable you are, then it becomes harder for the enemy to predict where you are going, and as a result you will likely find yourself in more opportune scenarios. So that is the first point, and hopefully this point kind of makes sense to everybody. Learn to stop being predictable, and the best way to do that is to watch your VODs and again remind yourself that, hey, this is not right, we need to switch things up. And once you do that, then you can keep going. Let's move on. Now, as a Doomfist main, it is quite often that I find myself in scenarios where I overcommit and I ultimately put myself and my team in a bad position. It's pretty much the way of the game at times. You know, you really think that there's an opportunity, you want to capitalize, and then boom, you get shot in the face and you're right back at spawn and you have to rethink your strategy all over again. And we've all experienced this, no matter what level you are, whether you are a bronze player or top 500, there are so many times where you will intentionally feed, or short form int, as they like to call it, where you just overcommit. You just play way too far ahead of your team. You think that you can get an easy opportunity because you see something that your teammates don't see, but you don't communicate it, or perhaps again, your teammates aren't really aware of it, so they can't follow up. And as a result, you overcommit and die. And of course, that is part of the game. It's part of the learning process. It's not something that you can just eliminate overnight. It's something that requires a lot of attention and you have to be very mindful, which of course, if you didn't see my video before on how to focus, check out my older videos for that. But yeah, you want to definitely think of ways to really play with your team, be more effective with regards to how you can properly optimize your gameplay, your strategy. Think of ways to commit, but not overcommit. Of course, you want to find value for your team and yourself, but you don't want to devalue the opportunity that your teammates have, or perhaps what you've created for your team. So definitely think of ways to be creative, because that's going to ultimately help you. And once you can do that, you'll definitely find yourself in more opportune situations. So that being said, let's move on to the last point. Now, one thing that tends to happen in Overwatch is games tend to feel one-sided, where you go into a game, let's say a push map, for example, and you're just seeing the number on the screen increase, increase, and increase, while your team just can't seem to push the payload or push the robot far enough to secure a victory. But giving up along the way doesn't really help your team or you as a player, because not only are you already installing a loser mentality into your consciousness by saying, well, it's over, there's no way of us coming back, GG. Now you've already lowered your morale, but you're also going to significantly impact the morale of your teammates. So just giving up when there's really, honestly, opportunities to find within the game, I think is just not a good solution for you as a player. And that's just because, again, time is on your side. There are always new strategies to implement. Sure, again, there will be games where it might feel a little bit one-sided, but again, in the case of a push map, the timer is on your side. All you really need is for your enemy to make the mistake, and then for you to capitalize, and you can easily turn what felt like initially a one-sided game into a winnable one. There have been so many cases where I've watched on stream where players just seem to be on the verge of losing, and then something just clicks, and then boom, the light bulb turns on, and they eventually come back and win. But just giving up along the way and telling yourself it's over before it hasn't even started, you've already now griefed your team, and you're griefing yourself. And that's not a good mentality to have. So this is one thing you should stop doing as a player, is going into a game thinking that you're already at a loss, right? Placing yourself in a very loser mentality mindset already creates a defeatist type of approach. You're already defeated in your mind. You're not a winner in your mind. You have to always have the attitude that if things go wrong, sure, there's no problem with that, but don't give up along the way. Don't just quit and leave the game and then, grief your teammates because you feel like, oh, it's not working. GG guys, I'm quitting the game. And then as a result, now your teammates are affected because now it's a 4v5, and you could have easily just shifted your mentality, thought of a new solution, and really, think of ways for you and your team to secure a victory. So my advice to this is always remind yourself that anything is possible. Yes, there will be games where you will lose. It's okay, but don't give up, because by doing that, you're essentially giving up on your own growth as a player and as a person, and nobody really likes that. Have a winner mentality, be open to opportunity, and you'll find it. And that being said, thank you so much for watching. Hope this guide has helped you in some way or another to motivate you. And if you enjoy the content, once again, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you folks on the next video. Take care. And as always, new warriors, peace.